Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios, this is York's Local Sports Show. Talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with Game Time PA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hello and welcome. Teddy Feinberg here. It's Game Day with Game Time PA, but we have a really special guest today. Game Time PA reporter, YDR reporter, great sports journalist, the one and only Jim Sipe is in the studio, gracing us with his presence. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great, Teddy. That was a great intro.
Yeah, well, you know
should
what?
say that every time I walk into the office.
I'll tell you right now, when I introduce Brandon and Christian and any of the and Zach or Alamo, they never get that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they never get that.
I like this treatment.
Yeah, man.
I should be here more often.
Well, it's your first time ever on the program. How are things going for you on this fine Thursday afternoon? It's great outside.
It's beautiful outside. I am a little disappointed with the microphone situation here. I'm hoping Daryl Henry can hook me up with some type of elbow mic that you kind of have going, so I don't have to hold this and look like a fool.
Kind of like a Rick. No, honestly, here's the deal. I actually usually get the holding treatment too. It's usually Brandon in this seat. But
wow, why does Brandon have the hot seat?
Because I just kind of dish it off. But I'll tell you, when he's out, and this is really the mic. I mean, it's right here for you. How are things going for you? Pretty good?
Very good. Had a good day today. My wife got back from San Antonio late last night, so it was a little crazy this week.
Did she have any fish tacos there?
She had Taco Monday, and then she celebrated Taco Tuesday, and I think a lot of Lone Star beer was drank as well.
So she had a great trip.
Do we have Lone Star as a sponsor? We don't.
I don't. We've been working on that. No, we don't have that. Sounds like it was a great trip for her, though.
It sounded amazing. It was hectic week, though, for me.
I bet. We have an action-packed show here. We are going to be talking a lot about some of the stuff that Jim's been covering lately, actually. We've had a lot of coaching turnover in the YAIAA ranks. Headline recently, at least yesterday, the news coming out about Dallastown girls basketball coach Mary Manlove. So we're going to be talking about her and her departure from the program, which happened earlier this week. We had a couple other departures this week. A lot of boys basketball, a lot of basketball departures really this offseason, which has been a little jarring. There's obviously some football departures too. There's more coaching turnover than ever, and that's going to be a hot button issue throughout the show. And we're going to talk a little bit about spring sports as well. High school tennis officially started maybe a week or two ago, but things really get into full swing today. Obviously, Brandon, Christian, our Hanover crew, Alabona, Miller, they are all out and about covering spring sports. What a great day to start spring sports. Absolutely crystal clear skies, great weather. So they're taking advantage of that right now. But I kind of want just to dive right into the situation and talk about Jim's day yesterday, because this is your classic life in a sports reporter's day. Jim started bright and early, at least in our world. What time did you actually start?
I got up at 6:30 to get my daughter off to school. I have a third grade daughter.
But that's a normal. I mean, you were usually doing that. And that's like a typical morning.
Sometimes.
Okay.
So
wife in San Antonio, you definitely were doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got her off to school, and then my father actually. This is.
Jim has multiple phones in. It's really
and they're ringing. Yes. This is my father actually called me then at 8 o'clock. Needed me to come down and jump his 10-year-old Explorer.
Okay.
Because his battery died.
Okay.
So I had that going for me. So I got him out to AutoZone so he could get a new battery. And then my day finally started by meeting up with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission.
What time is that?
That was 10:30. So I was at the Yoakumtown Park and Ride.
I mean, Jim usually isn't starting work
9:30.
Until late afternoon, early evening. This would be like a normal person starting work at like 4:30 a.m. Go ahead.
So I met up with journalist Kate Penn, and I rode along with Waterways Conservation Officer.
Quite the crew.
David Hurst, a Redland grad. showed us kind of the ropes on how
sure
they
did.
put 2,100 trout in Fishing Creek in Newberry Township in York County. So we have that video up online. Kate's got a story and photo gallery.
By the numbers package, if I'm not mistaken. Very eye-catching.
You can find that at ydr.com.
It's great content.
So we put that together, and that was kind of cool. That was my first time using the GoPro. We were able to get pictures of trout as they were released into the stream. So that was something different, something I usually don't do.
That was kind of your creation. You wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you came up to my desk 2 weeks ago and brought it up.
Oh, yeah.
You were excited about it.
Who doesn't want to see trout?
I mean, until you brought it up to me, it didn't exactly strike my fancy, but okay.
That wasn't a big go-to for you in Long Island growing up?
Well, I mean, now it is. Now it's my go-to.
But for a couple weeks now, we've been hearing some weird stuff was going on with the Dallastown girls basketball position. And that's what took up then. Once I got back into the office, I think we spent 3 hours making.
I'd say around probably 2 or 3 got back.
We spent about 3 hours with the trout stocking, and then we came back into the office, and I started finishing up a story we've been working on for a couple days, and something we have known about for maybe a week or two.
Yeah, about that.
So it all started. This is in regards to Dallastown girls basketball coach, former Dallastown girls basketball coach, Mary Manlove, was fired on Monday. And we had known something was going on. A reader had contacted me a couple weeks ago and let me know, hey, something weird's going on. I had called Mary, and this was still up in the air, and kind of asked her what was going on, and she held off talking at that point. So we really didn't know what was going on. And then, we left the door open, and then we continued to have conversations, and we're trying to find out what happened. Unfortunately, we got one side of the story. We would have liked to know what the other half of the story is. But
Coach Manlove obviously talked. Dallastown, I don't even want to say they were reluctant. They didn't even really get back to us.
We were able to talk to an assistant coach. We were able to find some of the letters the assistant coaches had written in defense of Mary, where they basically said, that if this situation continues and Mary's let go of, we're going to resign. So basically, Dallastown, in firing their head coach on Monday, may have lost their entire girls basketball coaching staff through firing Mary Manlove, the 7 assistants underneath her, including the head JV coach, the head 9th grade coach, and the head 7th and 8th grade coach, all signed a letter saying they would step down if she was terminated. So it's kind of a weird situation.
The letter's embedded in Jim's story, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, so we have that's you can find that on GameTimePA.com. And the story that we know so far, like I said, I tried contacting administration at Dallastown numerous times. We never had a phone call returned. So what we're going with is, this is what happened to the coach. This is what the coach is experiencing. And some of the responses I've seen on Facebook to the story were basically saying something's missing here. Yeah, we don't have the whole story. And we can't control. If Dallastown administrators don't want to talk to us, they don't have to. But at the same time, people in the district, I think, are a little frustrated that they don't understand what's going on and don't have a full picture. And we don't have the full picture either.
And certainly we're planning on diving into that a bit more during segment 2. And I just want to include this because that was not Jim's entire day. So Jim writes the story on Mary. That wraps up, I wrapped up on 7 o'clock on the dot because we had an epic ethics training after that.
Oh, we did.
But in any event.
The person who gave the ethics training was fantastic.
Well, I really prepped for that pretty tough.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But anyway, so then Jim dives back into, he took a bunch of trout video. He created...
We got to get that going, right?
He created a GIF, which was unbelievable. I think that he almost got a Gatorade shower for doing that. Anyway, it's literally, Jim started his day, again, was it 9 to 10? I'm trying to get him out of the office. It's got to be 10 o'clock.
So you kicked me out of the office, and as I was leaving...
It's not... I want to put the listener in my shoes.
Okay.
I kick him out. Jim, let's move. Let's go. Come on. Click the X. Click the X in the computer. Let's move along now. So this conversation's happening for 15 minutes. I finally think I get him out of the office. 15, 20 minutes later, Brandon comes out. Ted Sipes in the back. He's with Bo Danny reading comic books.
Oh, Brandon ratted me out to the boss.
I blew my stack. I wanted to throw the comic books out the window. I mean, he's sitting back there in the break room. They're going through like everything from Wonder Woman to Punisher. I mean, it was completely out of bounds.
Wonder Woman was not in the stack. In Frank's defense, he had asked me, he found all these old comic books. He's trying to clear out his father's house, and he found all these old comic books. Moon Knight was one of them. Silver Surfer, Uncanny X-Men.
That's pretty cool.
What was it? The Teen Titans?
It's those are like relics.
So if you want comic books, Frank Bodani's the guy to contact. Email him. Send him an email.
I'm going to venture to say you probably didn't walk out the door until 11 o'clock at night.
No, I got home around 10:30, so.
Obviously, my time perception was a little warped. But anyway, 10:30 is 10:30. I wanted to throw those comic books out the back door. So yeah, we are going to come back. We're going to continue talking about the Man Love situation. We are going to talk about a lot of coaching. It's been a revolving door in the YAIAA, whether you're talking about hoops, whether you're talking about football. We're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on spring sports. When we come back, Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Sure, the Revolution Baseball Club owns this radio station, but let me take a moment to reassure you. There's no gratuitous rooting for the hometown team. No hype.
This crowd going crazy.
We just give you unbiased calls.
Unbelievable.
Of every Revs game this season.
This game's over.
Nope.
Swing and a miss.
No homers here.
It is gone.
All right, maybe a little.
And let the party begin.
The Revolution plays here. The new Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Waking up with the Zabe. The Steve Zabin Show.
And we've got a breathe right strip controversy now heading into the Belmont. How come nobody in the annals of horse racing history thought to define whether or not you can wear a horsey breathe right strip? Isn't this the equivalent of a hood scoop on a car?
Your quarter panels are up 1/8 of an inch higher than mine. That allows for a little aerodynamic mess underneath the vehicle.
Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Come to the coolest place in town and learn to play hockey or figure skate at the York Ice Arena. The York Ice Arena offers a Learn to Skate program for skaters of all ages and abilities, directed by ISA and USFSA qualified instructors. Skating classes range from beginner to freestyle. Hockey classes cover the basics of the game. All classes include free skate rental and 5 free skating passes, so you can try out your new skills. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. Host your birthday bash in group spaces or with a private ice rental. Public skating at the York Ice Arena is available afternoons, evenings, and weekends. Skate for just $7 and rent your skates for just $3. Plus, you can save with discount passbooks. Oh, and ask about gift cards and kids' prepaid debit cards. So if you're looking to learn something cool, come to the coolest place in town and learn to skate at the York Ice Arena. For more information and to register, go to yorkskate.com.
Money and business are essential to the strength of a community. So is cheering and celebration and music and fun. That's why York Revolution games, concerts, youth sports, special events, and more happen at a place called People's Bank Park. People's Bank has been serving York County for more than 150 years. Always cheering, always celebrating, always committed to the things that make York County great. And to you having a great time at People's Bank Park. People's Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Mic check.
Dan Patrick.
He's Ben Roethlisberger. Heinz Ward told me that, he would lie to stay on the field. So he said, look, it's our job to deceive to get back in there. Have you done it?
Yeah, I have. I think I did a lot more when I was younger. I think now with all the stuff coming out and all these players and the things that are happening, I think the awareness has been raised, the level has been raised, so I think it happens less frequently. But I think for the most part, players are taking it very serious when it's a pretty good bell ring.
Are you hit differently now than, say, first 2 years in the league?
In what ways? Like, are defenders hitting me different because of the rules?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think I've always taken, it's good and it's bad. I think that officials have allowed play to kind of play on a little bit. I don't think their whistle's quite as quick with me.
I love it.
The Dan Patrick Show.
on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on the brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your county, your teams. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
We're back. Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. We're on actually Sports Radio 1350 WOYK from 6 to 7 p.m. We are on our live stream from 4 to 5 p.m. on GameTimePA.com. And I am joined by Jim Sipe, our Mr. Everything at the York Daily Record Sports Department. He's joining us today. He reported a big story yesterday on Mary Manlove. Getting fired, ousted, departing Dallastown girls basketball program. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the story if you haven't read it yet on GameTimePA.com. Coach Manlove had a major rebuilding project in front of her this past year. I think it's safe to say that they lost I want to say 3 to 4 real key members of their starting lineup, not the least of which was Amari Johnson, who was a really quality player. She went to Division I Rhode Island. They struggled this year. I mean, their record was not where we're accustomed to seeing Dallastown at, but it was justified in many people's minds. In any event, she was let go. I guess it was on Monday. And it was, I guess the reason being, or at least in her mind, she was told it was because of her quote unquote coaching style. And it's believed that there are that some parents got involved, or maybe there were some players complaining. The full backstory it's still a little foggy, I think, in that respect. But Jim, why don't you kind of jump in and give us some context, to it? You obviously did the piece, and the last thing I want to do is take it out of context.
From what we know, sometime after the season ended, a group of parents and players came forward to talk to the administration, and they made an accusation that there had been some type of abuse, of verbal, mental, physical abuse that took place. This is an allegation Coach Manlove strongly denies that never took place, and she was never given an allegation to respond to. So we don't even know what the alleged abuse was that people were saying took place. So this happened. She was cleared in 3 different investigations that we know of. Dallastown's HR department informed Coach Manlove that the high school administration, Child and Youth Services, and York Regional had all investigated the matter and did not find enough to press charges. So at that point, she thought, perhaps I'm in the clear at this point. These allegations are false. I still have my job. And then she met with the administration. She had several people in the York County community, including a longtime youth coach and former assistant boys basketball coach at Dallastown, wrote a letter about her character. We know that York Catholic coach Kevin Bankos, who's won a couple state titles and been there a couple more times, wrote a letter of recommendation standing up for her character, highlighting her work to raise funds for one of his players who was since gone on to college and was struggling with cancer.
I just want to say, and I just thought of this is very sharp. I think that if you're a coach, like you're talking about the support that she is receiving, and I think that coaches look at it and it's a little threatening to them. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, she obviously on paper had a successful tenure, and I guess in their minds it's like, well, is it about wins or losses, or is it about something else?
Right.
Does that make any sense? And
right, absolutely.
I'm not expecting necessarily even like a rebuttal to that. It's just something that popped in my mind. I wanted to say it before I forgot about it, because things can kind of fly out of here sometimes.
She's got this support. Between 10 and 12 players, from what I understand, also submitted letters saying this is the positive influence this coach has had on me to the administration. And so she was in a position where she thought, okay, these allegations that I'm denying they have no evidence, so I'm in the clear. This is a good thing. And then she went into a meeting with the administration on Monday. I believe there were 4 members of the administration present, including Dallastown principal Kevin Duckworth, athletic director Tori Harvey, assistant high school principal, and also the head of HR at Dallastown School District. And they informed her that she was being dismissed.
And again, this is according to Mary. We haven't spoken to Dallastown. This is her account. Continue,
Correct.
Jim.
So they dismissed her at that point, and they went down, no disciplinary action needed against Mary. She against Coach Manlove, we couldn't find anything to support these allegations that were made. And so she's like, good. And then comes the kind of the bombshell where you're fired for coaching style. Now, this would be defensible if, at least in my opinion, this is me talking, this could be defensible if for years this was an issue. If for years parents were complaining, formal complaints had been filed, and to Coach Manlove's knowledge, not one formal complaint she'd ever heard of at this point. So now this is where the story kind of irritates people from what I'm seeing from the feedback is, okay, so we have these parents making accusations of abuse where we can't prove anything. There's no evidence that this happened. We don't even know what the abuse was that they're alleging happened. And then all of a sudden it's turned 180 degrees and we're going to fire you anyway because of coaching style, whatever that is. Now, to speak for Coach Manlove, she has one of the more impressive backgrounds in coaching. She has a Division I background. Off the top of my head, I can't think of another coach in York County or Adams County that has Division I background that's been on a Division I women's basketball staff. I don't know of any. She worked under the late Maggie Dixon, who died very unexpectedly at the age of 28. She's Jamie Dixon, the former Pitt coach's sister, died kind of just shocked everyone. But she was at the United States Military Academy. She was the head coach. Mary served as the director of basketball operations, which is kind of like the low man on a totem pole, but you get to do everything in the department. You need scouting tape. You're hitting the road trying to find a tape from for an opponent. You're scheduling travel.
You have your hands, you have your fingers, your hands in the program.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you are a part of that program. Like you said, you're doing a lot of the grunt work there.
So after the death of Maggie Dixon, the staff at Army was understandably shaken up. Mary was promoted to assistant coach. So she has a background. This is her 7th season at Dallastown. She's had 6 winning seasons. This season, with 8 freshmen on a roster of 17, they lost 17 games. This marked her first losing season. Her program's been awarded with the Sportsmanship Award by the league for what's that worth. She also has a title, I believe, was 3 years removed from the YAIAA title, winning that title, and she's 1 year removed from winning the regular season division title. So you have all this success on one hand, and we don't have a clear picture of what happened, but she's out at this point.
Right.
And now you kind of understand why 7 assistant coaches would say, okay, like if people are alleging something that we can't prove and to their knowledge never took place, why then are you turning around and saying coaching style is the reason we're making them
right?
move?
And I think again, it's kind of that original thing. It's like, well, if I'm a coach and I see it from the outside looking in, or the 30,000, whatever cliche you want to say, you say to yourself, well, if I'm Manlove, if I'm Mary Manlove, I feel threatened by this. You know what I mean? Because I've done what my job requirement is. In my mind, we've won basketball games. As you said, there haven't been, again, as far as we know, there hasn't been a long track record of this.
Right. And my one question through all of this is there a double standard here? Mary is one of 5 females coaching basketball in a 22-team league. And I don't see a lot of men getting questioned for coaching style. That's my opinion. That's not coming from anybody else. That's just my opinion. It just seems like an odd double standard here. Maybe it's not, but at a quick glance, I wonder what else is going on
And
here.
I also want to say this, and you brought this up earlier. It's tough because we haven't heard from Dallastown.
Right.
So it leaves you to hypothesize. Does that make any sense?
Right. Absolutely.
So getting their side would be good, because I think it would tie it together a bit more, or at least provide some clarity and direction. It's impossible to say with the male-female dynamic, but again, we don't know what happened. You know what I mean? We're guessing about what happened.
Right.
So,
and if style was indeed the reason she was fired, I will say I don't think she's the most demonstrative coach in the county.
Okay.
I don't think that argument can be made. I've seen these coaches and
but we don't. And
right.
Look, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Right? We don't know what's happening behind closed doors.
We don't. That's correct.
But we don't know the other side. That's the issue. Right. I mean, if we had the other side, we might be having a different conversation now.
So, so this might be a conversation for concerned residents, concerned people in the school district, if there's an upcoming school board meeting and they'd want to speak to this. If I was living in a school district, I'd find this situation troubling, just because these people, nobody in York County is making a living by being a coach at a high school. These are all people who are working on a stipend. This might be a couple $1,000s. This is all after hours, after their career, their full-time gig is done. They put in way more hours than they're getting paid for.
It's like a hobby of love, basically.
Right.
Let's call it what it is. I mean, like you said, she wasn't making X number of dollars doing this. I mean, she probably wasn't a couple $1,000.
Right. That seems to be the case, which is why it's so troubling. We covered this in football season. We saw a troubling trend where more coaches were stepping down or being pushed out, or just had enough at the end of football season. The most notable, of course, would be Central York's Brad Livingston, who at age 67 was shown the door, I believe, after 46 seasons in coaching in the program. So we're seeing coaches, the turnover just pick up, and we're not seeing fresh faces coming in. It would be one thing if we saw heavy turnover and all of a sudden we're getting people from out of the area, new people, new blood. But a lot of times it's the same coaches are hired at other school districts.
Like maybe some diversity in the hire. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's just like it's recycled. It's like
So this coach is not good enough for this school district, and 6 months later he's going to be good enough, or she is going to be good enough for this school district. It's just kind of, okay, what's broken here? And with talking with athletic directors, coaches in the area, it seems like this is a kind of a different age, and we're getting into a generation that grew up playing travel ball, playing AAU, basically paying to play, where expectations. Students, players, and parents all have expectations that maybe weren't there 15 years ago.
I think
they certainly weren't there 20 years ago.
I think that's 100% true. I think that I always tell this story that, when I was playing basketball, freshman year, there was a coach. I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, I was crazy about playing for him whatsoever. I wanted to quit the team. The Parente stepped in and were like, you're playing. You're finding a way to make it work. We don't care if you're coming off the bench. We don't care if you're starting. We don't care if you're playing 0 minutes. Find a way to make the
Richard Feinberg laid down the law, in other words.
Sandy had a say in it too now. I mean, don't sell her short. And the thing is that it's different now. I think that was a philosophy way back, not way back when. I don't want to make it sound like I'm 9 years old, but that was a philosophy back then, and it was just you were playing it as part of a process. Now it's like, well, where's the scholarship coming from? Is she going to play in the WNBA? I don't know what these people are thinking, but you understand my point.
Right. I was talking to an athletic director in the fall about this situation, and he said that's absolutely the case because AAU, travel ball, all are pointing to individual skills. And this athletic director's viewpoint and opinion was, why do we even have sports? Sports aren't there because we want to win games. Sports are there because they have an educational value at the high school level, at the scholastic level. The reason why we have scholastic sports is because there's things to be learned. You work hard and things don't work out. Things aren't always fair. You don't get every call. You have to work together with people you don't like, people you grew up with and maybe even hate, but you have to get together. It's part of a community. You learn to be in a community. That's not part of AAU. Part of AAU is finding a team that's going to showcase you. And that's not necessarily what high school sports should be or have ever been.
Yeah, there was a coach at K-State named Frank Martin. Do you remember Frank Martin? Very fiery men's basketball coach. Coach Michael Beasley, Frank Walker, those teams. He was really intense. He really yelled. He really screamed. I remember watching him on TV one day, and I said to myself, he's the type of coach, I think if I played for him, I wouldn't have liked him. But I think maybe 10 or 15 years later after the fact, I would have said, you know what, he had a monumental difference on my life. And that's what it's all about, man. You know what I mean? But we live in a different time.
We do. So it's kind of how these schools are going to handle this going forward. Are we just going to see coaches, maybe a turnstile coaching effect in this county? And it's not limited to York County, but at the same point, we don't see this in other areas. One of our former reporters, Matt Gould's in Cleveland, Ohio now. He works in Ohio, and he was just remarking he covers, I think there are 150 high schools in his area. He's had to cover one coaching resignation so far. The YAIAA with, I believe, 23 schools has had, is it 4? Basketball coaching changes already.
I think the turnover here has been extreme this offseason. I think that this is actually, though, and I think this is a problem that we are facing as a society. I think it's harder to coach now in 2016 than it ever has been before. Maybe Matt hasn't seen the turnover here has been extreme this offseason, but I think the challenges are universal. I think that they're hard. I think it's hard to coach in 2016 than ever before.
I agree.
Well, I'm glad you do. That means a lot. Okay, look, we're going to come back. We're going to keep talking about coaching turnover. We're going to run through all the basketball turnover, and we're going to get into the football turnover, and we're going to have a great time doing a game day with GameTimePA.
So it's York Revolution baseball season.
And good! A walk-off home run! That's a double play! Unbelievable! And the Revs have won this game! Are you kidding me? This crowd going crazy! Can you believe it? Cue up the cannon! This baby's over!
Yep, it's kind of exciting. The Revs play here. Sports Radio 1350, WOYK.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Previously on the York Revolution pregame show.
Everett George is our interview guest. Everett was signed up. Was it the whole homestand?
Yeah, the whole homestand.
And which was how many games?
7 games.
and you lasted in your role how many games?
1 game.
Have you been fired anywhere before?
Never. Post-game meal came down, and it was pulled pork and beans. I said, well, where's the buns? Where's the soda? Where's the water? And the coleslaw didn't come down till after everything was out. But I know what I can do. I can make a meal better with pulled pork, with beans. That's the reason I got fired, because I asked too many questions, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they did me a favor. I don't have to, I can have 6 days off.
Revs Baseball on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey!
And the Washington Capitals.
Hearing a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your county, your teams. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
We're back. Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Live stream GameTimePA.com. A little tongue twisted. The live stream is 4 to 5 p.m. on GameTimePA.com. We are on WOYK from 6 to 7. That's typically every week, although I'm just going to share a little tidbit or a little nugget, if you will. I think that we're going to maybe tweak the live stream time, because Thursdays 4 to 5 in the spring are a little dicey. All the guys.
It's still nice outside.
100%. And all the guys, Stoneberg can't do it. Stoneberg's got to be at his lacrosse games.
Oh, that's true. And Christian as well. Christian's a big lacrosse lover.
Baseball, too, I think. I think these guys, put it this way. I'd be outside, too, if I could be. It's great out. So we were talking coaching turnover. We're going to stay on that topic.
Before we go any further,
sure.
After listening to Daryl's the interview with Everett George, is there any way we can get the legendary Everett George in here for this show? Because that would be fantastic.
He's here every day.
Oh, we need to get him in here.
Okay.
That would make my year. Oh.
Can we get some background?
Oh, Everett is I'm going to say an age, and it's not going to sound right. Is it 72?
Oh, he's give or take.
So give or take a year or two. He's been here ever since I covered the team. Since the team started.
Is this a gentleman you did the feature
on?
Yeah. It's a great story.
He was at climbed Forbes Field tree to watch the Game 7 of the 1961 World Series, or 60 World Series, Pirates-Yankees. Just a baseball nut, and he's just got a kind of a straightforward way of representing his opinions.
You know what? There's just something about the old school,
dude. Everett is the definition of old school.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll put it this way. If you come back on the program, we got Everett on.
We're bringing Everett, and he'll just make fun of me the entire show.
Period. I can't. We're definitely bringing him on here. All right, well, that's that. And back to the coaching turnover.
We've lost some big names this year.
We did, and even in the past week, so we talked about Mary, but Bill Ackerman is a household name, and he resigned as West York boys basketball coach the other day, so that's crazy. And we had Dustin Bakel, who stepped down from York Suburban earlier this week as well, so that's 3 in 1 week. And then Troy Sowers, who really had an exceptional run as William Penn boys basketball coach, he left a couple weeks ago. I actually wasn't around when he left. Jess told me a week ago he left. My head almost popped off. That was like a month ago.
That was the big shocker for me.
Of
all the ones.
Ask, what were your...
That was the big shocker. Troy's in a pressure cooker in William Penn. That's a basketball school. People might want to say it's a football school. I had a former grad. I was putting together the greatest...
I just want to say, when you're going 0-10 and losing by 45 every week, you're a basketball school.
Yeah, they have had numerous guys make the NFL. Through William Penn, but that's a basketball school. I was doing the greatest athletes list, and a graduate of the school. I was talking about, well, what about this football player? And he said, you realize we haven't won a league title. The only time we won a league title, and it was decades. They were doing. We were talking about the 20th century, the history, and they went decades between Central Penn League titles. Central Penn League was the big school league. They played everywhere from Williamsport to McCaskey to old William Penn in Harrisburg and John Harris. So it's a basketball school, but Troy really did a great job there.
An exceptional job.
Had them in. It seemed like he had them in the running for the district title every year, even when they were young.
For the duration of time. I mean, how many years was he there for?
I believe it was 10.
Okay, that's a long time. Like, we're talking about these coaches. Like, we're going to see fast turnover now.
And
he's going to be there for 10 years.
And what people don't remember is before Troy got there, that job between 02 and I believe it was 06 was just like one kind of story after another. Not all of them good.
I'm sure
coaches leaving. Before that, coaches getting pushed out because of allegations of recruiting. All kinds of stuff going on behind the scenes with that program, and that was a stabilizing force. It'll be interesting to see who gets hired. He had a very good staff. Assistant Clovis Gallen was his longtime assistant, and they just that whole staff did a great job.
Good continuity. They won ball games. Not an easy feat. So I think that definitely was.
Ackerman came as surprise number 2, but he's been there a long time.
18 years is a long time.
Yes,
like
it
I
is.
think 18 years ago, like where was I? Like I was a young buck. Like
you were in New Zealand running on rugby pitches.
No, that was even before then, Jim. That was before then.
Okay.
I was a tyke at Ward Melville High School.
Does Daryl know the story? Have you told the story on the air?
No, we can talk about it. Well, yeah. I mean, I ran across a rugby field once when I was
as a spectator, paying spectator in New Zealand.
Yeah. Security tackled me. I had a great Atlanta Hawks shirt. Let's just say that thing got torn in half. But that was pre rugby run. That was pre. I mean, 18 years is a lot. Long time.
And Bakel stepping down at Suburban is a shock too. I mean, those 3 are big shockers. Just because he'd only been there a short time, he'd had success, and that program is now looking for another coach.
What do you think in terms of William Penn? Again, shocker with Troy. How do they follow that up? Who can they bring in?
It'll be interesting.
They brought in Stoner to be the football coach.
It'll be interesting to see what happened. We're seeing a shakeup of that school's administration. They have a new AD, Joe Chiotti, who was in place, I believe, since 1979.
I just want
was pushed out.
I want to say this. That's why it wasn't a huge shock to me because him and Chiotti were tight. I mean, when Chiotti,
that's a good point.
When Chiotti got dropped this year, or when he left, I remember Troy in that story was like, he can have a spot on my bench. Like they were boys, so I wasn't entirely shocked. But anyway.
That's right after the school board had basically told him, we don't want you. So here's a school looking for a new football coach. They have a new AD. They're looking for a new boys basketball coach. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go. I have no
knowledge,
inkling about which way they might go.
Now they obviously filled football because they hired.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
But anyway, they filled that a week ago.
Right.
That was another big story. There's been a lot of big news lately. It'll be real interesting to see that. I think Ackerman, again, 18 years is 18 years, and that's a long time. Even 10. I mean, I got news for you. The way this is shaping up here too, coaches are going to be leaving. They're not going to wait to get told to leave. You know what I mean? So no one's going to sit around for 10, 15 years anymore. I think those days they're going to come to a close.
When I first started writing, it was almost common to see a coach who'd been there 10 years and it wasn't a really big deal. Now it's a big deal if somebody makes 10 years. We're not talking 20. We're not talking 30. And I've covered those coaches as well.
What do you think? This is the way I see it. I see it like this. I see you brought up the job is it's not like they're making a living doing it, right? They're doing it because essentially they want to.
Either they want to give back or they want to, I mean, everybody's human. Maybe they want to stoke their ego. But most of these people,
competitive juices going,
right?
Whatever.
There's easier places to stoke your ego than working crazy hours, dealing with everybody who's telling you you're doing a wrong job.
Okay, so we have the I guess the pressure cooker aspect of it.
Right.
That it's getting hotter every year. We have dealing with parents and administration. I think the expectations are different. We talked about that too. The expectations for your scholarship or your playing time or whatever. You have to balance that now. I think honestly, maybe the real world, like, jobs might be a little bit more difficult. So in other words, if your full-time job is creating more stress and then you're doing this on the side, it can complicate.
And then we have just everyday life. I mean,
Yes.
if something happens in your
I guess that's
social
what I was
life,
trying to get at, yeah.
or maybe it's not for you. You whether your family increases, you decide to start a family. Maybe things aren't working out in the home life. So we have all this stuff. So the tough question for us is, why is this kind of happening now?
You did a column when Brad Livingston was let go, and the column itself was essentially that it's more difficult to be, and I think that it was more focused on high school football, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. Because I think we're looking at half or more than half the coaches in the YAIAA are going to be either in their first and second or first 3 years
well,
at
Alex
a school.
Green was at Biglerville, was like 5th or 6th years.
Right.
Like, I feel like
in
the grade
seniorship.
year.
Yeah. He
that was
was
a great quote.
Yeah. So it's kind of be interesting. Does this keep happening? Are we going to just keep and isn't that a disservice at this point? At some point, somebody has to look at this situation and go, this is a disservice if we have a first-year coach every 3 years. We have somebody basically relearning the job every 3 years. Isn't this a disservice? Doesn't a change need to be made? I don't know if we're at that point yet, but I think we're getting dangerously close to that point.
Continuity is obviously important. Now, if a team is going, getting 3 wins a year in the high school basketball season, it's not important. But if there is a certain struggle and continuity from the top on down, like you mentioned, Troy with the great assistant.
Right.
That's very important.
And they stayed together the whole time.
That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. And in football, from a coordinator standpoint, your assistant, that stuff's monumentally huge. Man, it's crazy. Again, the expectations have changed. And I think it's just a direct reflection on everything that we deal with every single day. Like, just in general, I think that the high school coaching thing is a reflection of that, of our society. Like, I think that there's just less patience, expectations are increased, and you
have to be a certain breed in order to want to be a high school coach, and you have to have some kind of a certain disposition in order to stick with it. I remember I was covering a high school coach. He'd won multiple state titles. He was going back to another state championship. Different team, different players. And somebody from his own school came up to him, patted him on the shoulder, and said, I didn't think you were too good of a coach the first few years, but this year, pretty good coaching job. And turned and walked away, and the coach just brushed it off.
You got it. Well, yeah.
And I almost fell over. Like a normal person, like the reaction from a normal person would border on violence at that point. I would think, like, if you're normal, like, what are you talking about? You have to be able to put up with that from people who want to tell you their opinion, even if there's no value in that
I
opinion.
100% agree. Like, basically, the deal is this: you need to have a thick skin, you need to be tunnel vision, and you need to know what you're doing it works. You got to be secure,
and you have to love it. Like
there's no way
like for the amount of hours they're putting in. So, we're seeing a ton of turnover, and I don't know if there's an answer to this.
I don't think there really is an answer. I don't think we're going to necessarily come up with it in the last 10 minutes when we have the show. But one thing we are going to do, we're going to talk about Central's football hire. We're going to take a quick look ahead to spring sports, and we're going to wrap things up here on Game Day with Game Time PA.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Come to the coolest place in town and learn to play hockey or figure skate at the York Ice Arena. The York Ice Arena offers a Learn to Skate program for skaters of all ages and abilities, directed by ISA and USFSA qualified instructors. Skating classes range from beginner to freestyle. Hockey classes cover the basics of the game. All classes include free skate rental and 5 free skating passes, so you can try out your new skills. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. Host your birthday bash in group spaces or with a private ice rental. Public skating at the York Ice Arena is available afternoons, evenings, and weekends. Skate for just $7 and rent your skates for just $3. Plus, you can save with discount pass books. Oh, and ask about gift cards and kids' prepaid debit cards. So if you're looking to learn something cool, come to the coolest place in town and learn to skate at the York Ice Arena. For more information and to register, go to yorkskate.com.
Ah, spring is here. And Cannonball Charlie has his ammunition.
Here he swings and hammers it. Watch this one go. It's a game winner.
York Revolution baseball is back.
It's deep. It is gone. A high drive deep down the left field line. It is gone. A walk-off.
Take that, every other team. The new Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Turn this on.
The Rich Eisen Show.
He is unbelievable.
Rich Eisen.
Let's go to the phone lines. They are lit. Catherine in South Carolina, can I help you?
Yes, I am having emotional distress.
Don't.
I'm going to sue the Jones family.
Don't.
This is crazy. It's the most stupid, idiotic thing. The Jones are screwing this up. And I am sick. I've left work. I'm nauseous. He's strung us out on DeMarco.
Well, what about the idea that anybody could run behind that offensive line? Catherine, you don't buy that one?
DeMarco is family. He and Tony and Jason do everything together. He's family. I just started to be a Cowboys fan again, and happiness has just plunged to despair. What the Jones has done to my emotional state, they should be sued.
Don't go litigious on me here, okay?
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Bill Raftery from CBS Sports, the man who gave us the expression, onions. I actually thought that onions meant you're slicing onions and you're making the other team or coach cry with a big shot.
Well, it's about toughness. Okay. You know, it really is.
So it has nothing to do with slicing onions. And I saw where you got criticized by one of the media critics that you shouldn't be saying onions because of what it means.
Well, that's his interpretation. It's just, I just think it's just somebody that these kids respond in the most difficult of moments and step up, and it's something that will be chronicled the rest of their lives. And
what's your wife say when you say, you know what, I say onions?
I wish you had them.
She said that she wishes you had onions? Patrick from 3.
On Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Your teams all the time. York's only place for local sports. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hello. That was a great intro back in. Teddy Feinberg, Jim Sipe, Game Day with GameTimePA. We have a couple minutes remaining in this week's program. Live stream on GameTimePA.com, and of course we will be 6 to 7 on WOYK. But if you watch the live stream replay is also always present, so you can watch Sipe and I really in fine form. Any time of the day. I didn't know
about this.
It's not going anywhere. It stays on the screen.
Oh, I would have dressed better.
You look great. You look great. Seriously.
Frightening.
You're doing great. Josh Oswald hired at Central York as the football coach. This was another, again, big stories. This has been, in my mind, really the theme of the year has been coaching departures. And it started with Livingston leaving Central as, of course, football and volleyball coach. So they hired Oswald, former Carlisle guy,
Former Carlisle
played
head coach.
football at Ship, I believe, Shippensburg.
He did.
And was a graduate.
He was a 2004 Cumberland Valley linebacker, graduate. He played linebacker on their football team. I believe he was played on 2 district championship teams, maybe the 01 team when he was a freshman, and the 03 team, I believe, when is probably would have been his senior year. And to Shippensburg, he was a graduate assistant and got the Carlisle job at age 24. And the Carlisle job is out of our coverage area, so I can't speak to it, but apparently it was not a sought-after gig.
The most desirable spot,
The reports at the time when he got hired was he was the 10th man offered the job, and he was finally the one to accept it.
Wait. That really was reported. They offered the football coaching job. They got turned down by 9 people.
The superintendent told that to Penn Live back in... Yeah, when he got hired.
Okay, I'll just say okay.
So he walked into a difficult situation, and he's gotten them to the playoffs. Granted, they were the 16 seed. Why is District 3 taking 16 seeds in the district tournament? I don't know. That's another show, though.
Yeah, you can come on the next show and we can talk about that. You've done a great job.
Why? But that happens. But they made the playoffs. They were 5-5 each of the last 2 seasons. Lost to the number 1 seed each time, and were respectable. I believe 2 years ago. I believe it was 21-7. They lost to Wilson, so not getting blown out. They play they run the gauntlet in the Mid Penn. They're playing the big boys, and Carlisle is one of the smaller Quad A schools. So he said he pursued this job because of the potential at Central. He said just the curb appeal in the school alone. They've got great facilities.
Well, there is potential, is there
right.
not? I mean,
they have a big school district.
They pull from a lot of different big school districts. They pull from different sectors of the community, which helps.
So he believes the potential is there for Central to rival a Central Dauphin, which has won a state title recently, or Cumberland Valley, which has won state titles recently. So, and Cumberland Valley's been more the historical power. Central Dauphin, of course, is also a big football school. But he thinks they're in that vein.
It's pretty bold.
It is bold just because we don't have that talk a lot in York County. People saying we're going to play with Cumberland Valley. We're on Cumberland Valley's level. We're still looking for, I believe...
If you can't tell by the tone of Jim's voice, he definitely hasn't had that conversation in some time.
Well, I believe the York Adams League is still looking for a Quad A champion. York County has had a Quad A champion, I believe, but nobody from the York Adams League. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. They've had struggles in the big school division. Double A, great schools coming out of the York Adams League, winning district titles. Not as much success at the Triple A and the Quad A level.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, there's something to be said about taking over a program like Carlisle and actually bringing them to a respectable level. And I do think there's potential at Central, exactly what you spoke to. I thought that they were really going to try to hit a homer in terms of Livingston, getting rid of Livingston. And
they kind of put themselves, I believe, I don't know the situation. Once again,
they backed themselves into a corner a little bit.
The administration didn't want to talk to me when they made the hire. I was trying to find out information. I got a no comment. I must be a difficult guy to talk to. But they they hired Josh Oswald, but I believe they backed themselves in a difficult corner with the way they handled the exit of Brad Livingston. Brad. Everybody speaks of his character. He's universally respected, including by Josh Oswald. Said he was at an LVC camp years ago and saw Brad and Central was there and said, that's the type of program I want to emulate. That's what I want to produce as a coach.
I mean, bottom line, he was his track record speaks for itself, and obviously long-standing veteran, highly respected. We talk about long tenures. He had a long tenure. So, you know what? Sometimes change isn't necessarily a bad thing. We'll see how Oswald does.
He's 29. He's really young. He should have lots of energy.
Yeah, agreed.
He was a great interview the other night, so it'd be interesting to see how this kind of...
I agree. We'll see how it plays out on the field.
Right.
I think that's really the main thing. is he a headline name? I can't really speak on that, but he obviously is experienced, and we'll see if that program.
But I will say this: Troy Sowers was not a headline name
100%.
when he got hired, and he turned that program into getting big headlines.
Exactly. What happens between those white lines? That's what we'll find out come football season. Thank you for coming on the program today, man.
This is the part of the show where I drop mic.
This is the part of the show that you drop the mic. DH, thanks as always. Thank you, WOYK. We're going to be back on next week to 6 to 7 on WOYK. Not sure when the live stream will be on. Check our website. Check YDR. We will keep you informed on that front. Teddy Feinberg signing off. Game Day with Game Time PA.
First in York. First in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.